Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are Untangled, episode 119. So happy and excited to be here with all of you. How are you guys today? Just going to spray some little spray. Happy Tuesday. I didn't realize on Sunday that we were springing back, going back an hour. So my sleep has been all funky. I had some funky sleep. Funky sleep. Anywho, welcome to Untangled, episode 119. Untangled is my weekly YouTube series that I do where I talk about the evolution in human consciousness. And I just talk about the way in which we are navigating this evolution and the ups and the downs, the ins and the outs, how we are untangling ourselves from all the different illusions that we live in. I talk about uncomfortable stuff, making it more comfortable, being fully authentic and transparent in just this beautiful, amazing, incredible human experience. One of the things that I find so humorous about the human, especially the human that is on the spiritual path, is that we try to be a specific way. We try to be all cool and aligned and connected and enlightened, and my chakras are all tied together and activated, and my DNA is activating, and my crown chakra is opening. The spiritual community is quite cute in that way. We try so hard to be what in ways that are just it's like fighting against what simply is, which is like, dear God, just get me through the day, right? um Behind closed doors, it's a very different story for a lot of people. So just unpacking the natural, really messy evolution in human consciousness and being soul in a body that believes that it's a human, that forgets that it's a soul, and the messiness of that, and just breaking it down to simplicity of like, wow, okay, here I am on this human journey. Here I am on this beautiful planet. Here I am standing in a third dimensional, polarized field of collective consciousness, um, and all different ways to experience it, all different ways to feel it, all different ways to go through it. Um, I think what I'm recognizing more and more as I do navigate this and I become more and more humble to this evolution in human consciousness, um, is that the easiest way through is simplicity. The simpler I can make my life, the more ease and grace I tend to experience. The less I try to be a certain way, the less I try to go into some sort of expanded state, the less I try to, elevate myself or align my chakras or activate my kundalini, or, no shade on those of you that are doing this, but, you know, the more I just freaking live in this world and do the human experience, the happier I am. I ain't gonna lie. It's very, very true. I find myself happier when I no longer care about anything other than just being humbled to what it means to be human, what it means to walk through this human journey, what it means to show up every day, what it means, um, just the entire human experience. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this walk with me. And thank you for joining me on Untangled. Really quickly before I get started, I mean, I'm already getting started, but before I get started, um, I am doing a really unique, very powerful 3-day class, Walking with Yeshua, on Friday, the 14th, 15th, and 16th. I'm so excited about this class. As most of you know, nothing has changed my life more than my relationship with Yeshua. This class is going to be connecting with him. He's going to come in and he's going to kind of teach the class. So I'm really curious as to see how this is going to go. It's not a religious class. We don't talk about the Bible. We don't read the Bible, and we don't go over any type of scripture or any of his teachings. This class is simply about learning how to, remembering how to, and connecting with Yeshua, the energy, what it feels like, how to do it, ways in which you can bring him closer into your life, and just feeling him because he's going to come in strong. And so this is on March 14th, 15th, 16th. Very unique class. I've never done anything like this. I will not be a teacher. I will be a participant. The link is down below. If you're in our SOAR community, we have a 15% discount code. All right. That is all that I wanted to share. So, first and foremost, I decided to do a water fast before the class on Friday. I wanted to, and my intention of doing the water fast was to get closer to God and be kind of humbled by the presence of God and surrendering deeper to God, handing my vessel over to God, handing my body over to God, handing my life over to God, handing the decisions I make over to God, handing my willpower over to God. A lot of people here, especially if you're in the New Age community, this may trigger you because, you know, since 1989, I have been in the New Age community, so I understand how we've been designed to think that we can do this all on our own, that we are God, and that we are the ones that are the ones that do this. And on one level, that is absolutely 1000% correct. 1,000,000,000%, we are souls and body. We are an aspect of God. That is an absolute. However, the more you become humble to this planetary experience, the more you become humble to programming, deep mind control, trauma, and all the thoughts that control you, the more you become humble to that, the more you realize that just because we actually are simply just soul and body doesn't mean that you're going to actually live that way. It doesn't mean that decisions you make right here, right now, are actually soul making that decision. The chances of that happening are slim to none. How do I know this? How can I guarantee this is the case? Is there a thought or an emotion that you feel that you don't ever need to change? Right? Is there a thought or an emotion that you want to change? Or are you capable of allowing every thought and every emotion? If you're capable of allowing every thought and every emotion, no matter what, then most likely your soul is leading your life. However, if there is a thought you do not like that you judge and that you try to control and change, or an emotion that you do not like that you judge and you try to change, then most likely it's the little you, the beautiful human, that's making decisions. It's that simple. And there's nothing wrong with this whatsoever. It's just, can we become humble to this notion that perhaps, just maybe, at a time like right now on the planet, handing things over to something bigger than us that is also us may help us, may actually help us, because who we think ourselves to be, oh, I am soul, I'm higher self, I am making all these decisions, it can be a real, real deep trap. It takes a lot of humility to realize that you're still stuck in deep illusion. You're still stuck in deep programming. And what an absolute freeing opportunity that is to come to that realization. And if you've been in the spiritual community for a long time, like myself, since I was 13, you're going to fight tooth and nail for the fact that you are choosing as higher self, you are choosing as soul, you are God, you're making the best decision, you're aligned, you're connected. I've been there, I've done it. And what I can say is that where I am right now in my life, I've never been more at ease, more graceful, more peaceful, more calm, more loving, more connected, more trust, more flow, more free than I ever have. And it's because of my connection with God. That I'm actually saying, holy shit, you know what? This is a real intense time right now on the planet. I've been trying to do this on my own, align my chakras and align myself to my higher self and do all of these amazing things. Um, And it's just kept me in a state of control. So if I start handing it over to something bigger than me, which is also an aspect of me, and I let God show me and I trust God, whatever you think God is, it could be source, it could be universe, whatever you want to call it, right? If I start handing it over, then what happens? What do I start to feel or experience? What eventually happens in this evolutionary shift in human consciousness is that yes, eventually at some point we start acting like soul. We start choosing as soul. We start living as soul in body. That's an absolute yes that's going to be happening for the majority of humanity at some point on this planet. But most of us are not there right now. And again, the litmus test to that, whatever that word is, the test is if there are emotions that you try to change, if there are thoughts that you try to get rid of or change, if there is judgment to any part of your human experience, then you are still choosing and making decisions based from the little you, the egoic structure, right? If you're capable of being in everything, if you're capable of allowing for everything, if you're no longer judging any part of your human experience, then you're making decisions from soul. It's that simple. So a lot of people that say I'm living in 5D or I'm now, standing in 5D or all of that, you know, the greatest, uh, the greatest test to that is, are you okay being in anything? Can you stand in anything? Can you be in anger? Is anger allowed to arise? If it's like, "No, I only feel these certain things, not because I'm trying to, but this is just only what I feel." That's impossible. That's impossible because in just based on physics in general, just physics, the way energy and physics works, you're standing in a very, 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 uh, chaotic field, chaotic third dimensional field. So even if your body's in a higher frequency, the body is still standing in the third dimensional field, which means that it has all kinds of different things that it gets to feel throughout the day. Soul knows all of this. God knows this. That's why there's no judgment. Like, okay, you're feeling anger? Of course you are. Welcome to a third dimensional physical reality, which is going to stay this way for quite some time. So all of this to say, I'm doing a water fast because I want to be able to be even more humbled to this human experience. I want to get out of the way so deeply that everything I do is coming from service to God and service to humanity. And I knew that if I did a water fast this time where that was my intention, it wasn't to heal my body, it wasn't to get rid of parasites or toxins, it wasn't to, rid my body of anything. It had nothing to do with the physicality of my body. It had everything to do with my relationship with God. And the moment that I would get weak, I say, God, take this from me. God, show me I can do this. Show me, right? Jesus, show me I can do anything with you. I can do anything with God, right? Um, and if it was left to me, I would be suffering. I would be in my mind, and my monkey mind would go cuckoo. Um, so anyway, today's my second day, and I woke up really sick to my stomach. I'm like, oh, what? I'm not hungry. I'm just nauseous. I'm nauseous. So, but I'm like, it's so funny. If I commit, and I've been this way my whole life. Um, if I commit to something like this with regards to my hair, like if I'm like, I'm gonna commit to do this for God, right? A deeper relationship with God. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do a 3-day fast. I might even do 4 days. I might do 5 days. I don't know. But if I just do it, like, if it's just very like me, I'm gonna do it because I want to get healthy, because I want to cleanse my body, because I want to get rid of toxins. Like it's all me. I'll be fighting against it. I'll be struggling. I'll be like, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Mind over matter, right? And it's just this like internal battle against myself, which is just so self-centered and selfish. I'm like, ugh. I want nothing to do with this. I want my whole world, my whole life, my whole focus to be on God and service, right? It's like, and when I stepped into this water fast 2 nights ago, and I was like, okay, this is going to be so different. I'm so ready. Um, it felt like no matter what obstacle I would come against, because I'm not good at fasting. I hate it. I'm hungry. I like to eat. I love food. I love eating. I love preparing it. I love thinking about it. I love thinking about what I'm going to eat later and then in the morning, and I am all about food. Food is I mean, why else are we in the human experience? Food. So, and I hate being hungry. I hate it. It's like my least favorite thing to experience is hunger. So I knew that doing this water fast, committing in a way with God, that I would be able to lean on God, lean on this energy that's outside of me that can say, you can do this, you can do anything. And again, this may trigger a lot of people and say, well, that's you. You can do anything. You just tell yourself you can do anything. And I'm just going to speak from personal experience. As of late, that has not worked for me. It just hasn't. And I'm okay saying that. I'm okay leaning on something else. I'm okay asking for help. I'm okay praying to something bigger than me that is still me. It doesn't make me feel less powerful. It doesn't make me feel less empowered. It doesn't make me feel less of anything, because I know that I'm playing a character, and I really believe I'm that character most of the time. And anyone that says that they're not brainwashed, not mind controlled, not programmed in this human experience is full of shit. I will call you out. You're lying. We are all brainwashed, programmed, and mind controlled. I'm so sorry to tell everybody this, but it's true. I think it's one of the my biggest pet peeves in this whole process of continuing to awaken is this idea that we're not in that programmed world anymore. We are awake, and the more I walk through it, the more I'm like, oh my God, like, yes, you are. You all are. We all are. And there's something to be said about just being humble to the fact that we're in a programmed world, and it's just kind of how it works right now. And the evolution in human consciousness is deprogramming us slowly but surely. It's the process of breaking free, which is basically flow, awareness into flow state. And it's just interesting to watch um, humanity navigate this. It takes so much compassion within myself to just watch it and to do my best to not get irritated or judge it. I can't help it. It can get very frustrating for me. I don't know if anybody else feels that. So it's I think sometimes the more you can kind of see what's happening, the more challenging it can be to keep your heart open and to have that compassion. Um, the compassion for how each human unravels this really intense program, um, in order to break free. And it's really, it's a deep humbling. That's if I were to say anything about what does it look like when you start to unravel yourself from the deep programs on this planet? Humility, authenticity, and humility. The more humble you are, the less programmed you are, um, the less you will feel like you're participating in the world. You're not going to buy into all this stuff anymore. You're not going to care. It's not going to make sense. All of it. It's just not going to, it's just going to, you're going to know, you're going to recognize more and more that it's this amazing show that you're watching, this beautiful play. And every skit has a different purpose and a different intention and pulling you into that skit, right? Every story has an intention of pulling you into that story, whatever it is. And so I wanna share something about this for a moment. Um, One of the big things that's important to think about right now, perhaps you've been thinking about this for a while, but it's this really tricky, belief or idea that the more information you have, the more free you are. Um, and there's something subtly like seductive about that. Oh, I just need, if I have the more information I have, the more prepared I'll be. The more information I have, the safer I'll feel. The more information I have, the less I'll be programmed, right? The more I go down all these different rabbit holes and learn all these things, I'll be more awake and I'll be out of the matrix and blah blah blah. Um, and what I feel around all of that is that it's the opposite. Now, there's nothing wrong with information and gaining information, but at this point on the planet, information is another program right now that is looping humanity back into um, fear, stress, anxiety, worry, and control. So take this with a grain of salt and also maybe just start investigating it on your own. Um, so if you think about COVID times, right? They were giving you this information like you need to take these shots. If you don't, you could hurt somebody or you could get injured yourself, blah blah blah. And this is information. We all need this information. This is information for you. We're not trying to harm you. We're just trying to give you information, right? So they framed it as information. They didn't frame it as we're trying to scare you or trying to control you. All right. We're just giving you information. It's the same thing that's happening right now on all the different platforms, on all the different radio shows and TV shows. It's the same thing for a lot of information out there. I'm just giving you this information so that you have the information. Meanwhile, underneath that information is a huge amount of fear, right? Especially when it comes to what may be coming in the future for humanity, for this planet, for this country, for that country. Um, and this kind of predictive fear is very subtle. It's very, very subtle. So you won't necessarily recognize it in the same way that you recognized it during COVID. And not every majority of us didn't even recognize it during COVID. But it's the same thing. It's this doom and gloom with this smile on your face type of thing, right? Where it's like, um, m- the more that you know this, the better off you're going to be. Well, my question is that actually true? Are you better off knowing all of that? Are you better off reading about all of this stuff right now? You can argue for that conversation, but then I would ask you, what's your state of being like right now? How are you feeling in the world? How does your body feel? How present are you? How much angst and irritability and frustration do you have? And is it at all possible that it's correlated to the information that you're taking in? And how quickly do you want to go straight to, this is for my good? I need to know this information. If I didn't have this information, then dot, dot, dot. We're on this real fine line right now where we are being roped into real deep fear and control. So the control that is controlling us is making us believe that we need to be in control in order to feel safe on the planet. Okay? So the more information you have, the safer you'll feel. That's human nature. The less information you have, the less safe you're going to feel. Okay. And so if you don't feel safe, you're going to be grabbing for information as quickly as you possibly can so that you can then relax and say, oh, okay, I understand. I get what's happening. Now you feel like you're in some sort of state of control in some way, and you can go on with your life, right? This is what's happening. So there's all this information that's being thrown out in different avenues, different venues, that creates this sense of this is information you need to have. And once you have this, you'll feel better. They're not telling you this. This is just what's happening. Oh, you're going to feel like it's a false sense of safety. And so there's this addiction right now on the planet to knowing what's coming, knowing the information. Now, granted, there's a bazillion things you could watch where that's not happening, right? You're just watching people talk about uh, whatever, the Bible, or that they're talking about, like, what happened 3 years ago with this in this lawsuit, or they're talking about, there's all kinds of stuff, right? So it's very obvious what I'm speaking of when there is conversation around something that's gonna create some sort of fear, some sort of, "Oh, no," some sort of "what if," some sort of, "Oh my god, we're in trouble," some sort of, "Well, what do I do to prepare for this?" Some sort of, "Am I in the this prediction of a future, okay, in any capacity. What does this mean? What's the president gonna do? Is this gonna impact me? Is this gonna impact my family? Those are all this kind of predictive fear programming that creates that stress and anxiety and worry, and then makes you need to feel some sort of sense of control. So you have to watch. You got to watch it, right? And so you watch it, and now you're like, okay, didn't give me any information, but at least I feel like I have information, even though it didn't really give you any information. It just keeps you in this loop. Um, and so what you want to recognize right now is that the 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 trajectory of this human evolution is the opposite of that, which is the less information you have, the safer you're going to be, the freer you're going to feel, right? And the more of a flow state you're going to find yourself in, you're going to let go of control. Okay. The role of humanity going forward in the next 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years is no longer being in a controlled state. And pay attention to how badly we need to be in control, which is really having information. Think of how difficult it is when you're going through a moment and you don't know the answer. Not only to your own questions, like you don't know what to do, you don't know what direction to go, but you don't know what's going to happen out there. You don't know what the world's going to do. You don't know if the planet's going to move into this other ascended state of new earth through 5D, whatever it is. You don't know if there's going to be this or that. You look at the energy reports, you look at the astrology reports, you look at the all these different things so that you can gain information to give you that false sense of safety. But what is happening to the majority of us is that is going to be pulled. So we're going to start to feel more and more out of control, which is the greatest possible gift that we can all give ourselves. So in your own personal life, you're going to start feeling like you don't really have the answers anymore. You're not sure what to do. You don't know what direction to go to. You're sitting in this limbo state more and more, right? And that doesn't change, right? You're just in this limbo state until you start realizing, oh, I guess this is the state I'm going to start being in more and more. And that limbo state, the I don't have the answer, the I don't know, is you still holding on to, trying to be in control, when what needs to happen, what's being asked of you, is to let go and be in that limbo state, that not knowing state, which actually drops you into your natural state flow. And that flow state is when it's surrendered. You're no longer trying to control what's happening in the world. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't make decisions every day. It doesn't mean that you don't take action every day. You're always taking action. You're always making decisions. You have to. That's life. But when you stop trying to be in control of everything, you're no longer attaching to an outcome. So you're doing life, and this isn't for everybody. There's going to be a billion bazillion people that are going to stay in that really controlled state, creating their life, and that's great. But eventually, 50 years from now, that those humans will begin to fall into a flow state. It's just what happens. It's evolution. It's the shifting of consciousness. It's just that we all happen to be going through that shift first. It's waves of shifting, right? Humanity evolves in waves. It doesn't happen all at once, um, which is why I don't believe there's going to be some sort of a solar event that catapults humanity. Just has it just doesn't make sense in the way in which we are naturally evolving. Thank God, knock on wood. Um, and so the more that you can recognize just how conditioned humanity is to figuring out things, and you recognize that that's because humanity wants to be in a state of control. And that's because humanity doesn't trust life. It doesn't trust that it's safe to be in this. And that's totally normal. Like, welcome to the human. That's a very humble awareness. And it's a beautiful awareness, and it's very real. It's very, very, very real. But I guarantee you that you and a huge majority, thank you, Peru, for that super chat, a huge majority of humanity is going to start to realize, holy cow, wait a second. Wait a second. First of all, nobody knows what's going to happen on this planet. No one. And what happens if I stop trying to figure out what's going to happen and I start trusting just what is right here, right now? What if I just start recognizing that I'm designed to just be in the what is right here, right now? Now, of course, you're planning your life, you're planning your future, you're planning your day tomorrow. Okay, that's fine. But when in your everyday kind of moment by moment, how much of it is right here? Just right here, right? How often are you trying to figure out what's going to happen? It steals your peace. It creates a soft underlying fear that you're gonna deny, you're gonna fight against with me. No, it doesn't, Lori. I'm not in fear. I guarantee you there is a underlying uh, uh, kind of frequency of fear in your body, right? Um, Especially if you keep going back to people that are telling you, you keep listening to stuff that's going to tell you what's going to come or what's happening, or in whatever it is, or you need to do this in order for that, whatever these things are, right? um the thank you for that super chat. The freest, most peaceful, most ease, most graceful place you could possibly be is focusing on the right here, right now, which is what we always talk about, right? But really, practice even more. What's right here? And then arguing with the fact that, like, well, I don't want to just focus on what's right here. I've got things to do. I don't understand what's coming. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. I have to figure out if I'm going to divorce my husband or not. Like, okay, that's great. That's all happening. And also, what is just right here? And then you take the next step, which is not only just what is right here, but is there something bigger than me that's supporting me? Is there something bigger than me that's walking with me? I call it God. You can call it source. You can call it oneness. You can call it universe. I call it God. Is it walking with me? Is it holding me? Is it protecting me? Does it know better and more than I do? Yeah, it does. 100%. Yes. Does it know what this is all about? Yes. Does it know where I'm going? Yes. Is it going to bring anything to my life that is going to destroy me or make my life worse? Nope, it's not. Do I trust that? 100 billion%. I 1000% do. That is a state that allows you to begin to relax into this flow. You start relaxing into life. You start living with more you're just more open. It's like then it's just you start not it doesn't make sense anymore to start worrying about what's coming or to start arguing and debating about who's doing this and who's doing that. I mean, when you really start to realize that God has his hand, her hand in all of this, and there is this divine perfection that is running through the blood of every single living being here, and it's trying its best to safely and quite beautifully bring humanity into this next stage of evolution and awareness where they realize they don't have to be in control. They don't have to do it alone. And there's nothing they need to actually do. They don't have to perform in a certain way. They don't have to figure everything out before it gets there. They don't have to raise their vibration. They don't have to control their minds. None of that is true when you start to let go and literally let God. When you shift from I'm in charge, I'm in control, I'm doing this, I'm gonna, do all these things, and it's like, oh, there is something so much bigger that's happening here. Can I access it? Can I tap into it? What does it feel like? So you start getting out of the way. You start getting yourself out of the way. And when you start doing this, at least for myself, I really can start to see how self-centered we are, how it's all about me, right? And there's nothing wrong with that at all because this is a planet where we are trying to survive. We really are in survival mode, and most of us are in a state of suffering of some sort because we don't want to be in what we're in, so we suffer. So this is a really beautiful awareness is suffering is simply just not wanting to be in what you're in, right? So you resist it. There's something wrong with it. So you're in a state of suffering. What's beautiful about being in a state of suffering, if you're in a state of suffering right now, I don't want to be in what I'm in, it's gifting you the opportunity to trust something bigger than you and that there are no mistakes. That something bigger than you is trying to connect with you. It's trying to communicate with you. Um, it's trying to connect with you. It's trying to show you how this planet works. Not a human being, not a guru, not a spiritual teacher, not a priest or a rabbi, not some famous person, not some influencer, not no, God, something way bigger than all of that is trying to show you how this works. There's no amount of knowledge that is going to be able to show you how this works outside of God. Again, whatever you believe God to be, okay? It's everything that is, was, and will be. And you don't need to get yourself to some place in order to start recognizing that there's this ever present essence pulsating through everything that doesn't require anything of you. You don't have to sit in meditation every day. You don't have to eat healthy foods and green juices. You don't have to take supplements up the yin yang. You don't have to fast, right? It's just it's your birthright. And there isn't anybody outside of that essence that's going to be able to truly bring you to this knowingness that you are safe to be in this world other than God. And we have all these false idols on the planet, all these people we listen to as if they are God, as if they are the end all be all. They have the information, they must be the way. And it's extremely detrimental and dangerous. Nobody knows. Nobody. And we should be handing ourselves over to this overarching essence of God. Again, call it whatever you want, okay? But I'm calling it God. And we should be looking at that instead of this person or that teacher or this information or no. What does God feel like? What is God saying? What is you can't tell me that you can't access it. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And one of the reasons that I have felt closer to this essence of God than ever before is because, for whatever reason, I have built this really profound relationship with Jesus. And because of my relationship with Jesus, I am inadvertently closer to God than I ever have and been in my entire life. I trust life in ways that I never have before. I mean, I always trusted life, but I trust life now. I know, holy cow, I am not in charge. I know that I am divinely guided. I have more peace in my heart than I ever have. And I don't say to myself, like, oh, you're disempowering yourself. I don't say to myself, oh, you're giving your power away. I mean, again, I've been in the journey of ascension, awakening, evolution since I was 13. I'm very aware of how it all works and how it feels and the ups and downs and all of it. The worshiping of this and the alignment of this and the opening the I've done it all. Never, ever, 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 ever have I felt more aligned and connected to the omnipresent essence of this source God energy than I do right now because of my relationship with Jesus. Never. And everything else has just sort of gone out the window because it doesn't matter. Like when I start feeling into what really matters, it's love, it's compassion, it's kindness for all of you, it's wanting to serve all of you, like not from my own personal um, agenda, but how the best way to serve you through the lens of God, through the lens of the not through how can I make the most money or how can I get the most subscribers or how can I get the most followers or how do I follow the algorithm or how do I dot dot dot. All that does is it's going to perpetuate or keep me in the wheel or the loop of suffering, chasing, trying to get to through the lens of I'm spiritual, I'm channeling, I'm connecting. Mm-mm. No, not anymore. Not for me. It's like it's just it's the direct line of connection to God through the awareness that I'm playing a human character called Lori, and it's a very challenging character. Playing a human character is very challenging. Um, and trying to be in more of a non-controlled, so a flow state where you trust life. You don't have the answer? Perfect. Trust that God has you. You don't believe in God? Trust that energy has you. Trust that universe has you. You need the answer? Let go even more. You're afraid that it's going to fail? Allow that. Right? You want to start doing the opposite of what you've been doing so that you can be wowed in this lifetime before you die. You want to be wowed in this world. You want to receive miracles. You want to really fully understand that it's in your states of suffering that God is standing there saying, do you finally hear me? Can you finally let go of control? I am right here. I'm right here. All I want to do is serve you. All I want to do is love you. All I want to do is show you. And what we do is we say, you can't, I don't trust you, I don't know how. Well, what about this? Why is this happening? Why? We argue, 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 right? It's like that. Have you ever heard that analogy of there's a guy that I'm going to totally butcher this story, but he's in the ocean and he says to God, God, please send me, help me. I'm drowning, right? And clear this up for me, you guys, if I screw this parable up. which I will do. But he said he was drowning in the ocean and he was praying to God, like, God, please save me. So God came and brought him like a, a little tiny sailboat thing. And the sailboat came and said, do you need help? And he says, no, God's bringing me, a boat. Um, and so then the sailboat leaves, and then another boat comes, another like a jet ski comes with a person on it. I'm totally butchering the story. And the guy says, hey, do you need help? And the guy goes, no, God's bringing me a big boat to save me. God's going to save me. Okay, da da da. Then the third thing comes around, and maybe it's this like other janky little boat thing, right? And the guys in the boat says, hey, do you need help? He goes, no, God's going to save me. God's going to bring me what I need to save me. And so the guy ends up drowning because he's waiting for God to save him. He's got this idea of what it's going to be like, right? Um, and he gets to heaven and he says, you never sent anything. You never sent anyone to save me, or you didn't save me." And God says, "I sent you 5 different boats. You just had this attachment or this expectation of what it was going to look like." And that's what we do, right? That's exactly what we do. It's like, well, God, why would this be happening to me? If I'm talking to you, if I'm asking you, if I'm praying to you, then you should be delivering me what I'm asking for. You should be giving me what I want. That's not how God works. God delivers exactly what you need at the time that you need it, in that lens of knowing this. And if you have this expectation of why, or it should be like this, it should be like that, you're going to miss the miracle. You're going to miss the gift. You're going to miss what it means to truly, truly trust and have faith in such a deep way that your whole life opens up, that suffering goes away. Suffering goes away the moment you begin to realize that you are held by God, that God, whatever you want to call it, we can call it universe, we can call it source, but you're held by it, that it's got you. It doesn't matter. Listen, I wrote the book, The Divine Design. I wrote about how this entire Earth experiment was created, how the human body was created, how we choose through the Akashic record, all of the experiences, core consciousnesses, contracts, all of that stuff. And at the end of the day, the way that the human character gets through this is that it understands that this overarching God is penetrating this planet right now at such a capacity in order to open humanity's hearts into this Christed consciousness, where they begin to recognize more and more their natural state of being, which is living open-heartedly in flow, out of control, allowing for this overarching energy to show them how this works, so that they can begin to navigate that same way of being in their own physical forms. And in the meantime, there's going to be kicking and resisting and fighting against and figuring out and give me more information. And I need to figure out what's coming. The greatest awareness right now in terms of recognizing how resistant humanity is to the flow state is how many people need to know what's going to happen. They need to watch the energy updates. They need to watch the astrology updates. They need to watch uh, the news updates. They need to watch all these things so that they know what's coming, right? The like, that's how you realize, wow, humanity is really needing to be in a state of control, which makes sense because the world is becoming more out of control, which makes sense. It needs to be. The world needs to get more out of control so that the systems that have been in play for thousands of years that have been controlling humanity start to break apart, which means that you realize, wow, everything is trying to keep me in a controlled state so that I can feel safe in this world through the illusion of control, right? Realizing that nothing's changing. I'm not any more safe or less safe. I'm just continuing to digest information that is making me feel as if I'm safe. But if one little thing, right, is off in my world, if there are moments where I don't know what's going on, if there is a moment where I'm confused, if there is something pulled from my life and I don't know what to do, I will have a massive anxiety, stress, fear, worry. And then what do? We grab for information. We grab, tell me what's coming. Tell me maybe it's my astrology. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. And then we grab information, not from a present moment state, from this is what's coming. This is what's happening. This may be what's going on with you. And then we relax. Oh, thank God. Okay. And all that does is keep us in this hamster wheel of being unable to be present with what is, let it all go to shit, completely let it crumble, not have any idea what's happening, why it's happening, how to control it, and begin to trust in something so much bigger than you. The reason why people that are really sick, that are in their deathbeds, they have cancers that aren't going to necessarily go away. They're, when somebody gets really close to death or they get really sick, many times they find God. Many times they realize, oh my God, I have to hand this over now because I am not in control. I cannot control this. And then they start to realize, wow, something so much bigger than me is leading my life, is holding me, is guiding me. And then their whole life changes. And what do? A lot of them, they commit their lives to God. Why? They don't commit their lives to them because they got to a state where all of their control was taken from them. They no longer had any ability to really control what was happening. And from that place, they had to hand it over to something bigger. And that is where humanity is going. And I guarantee you, more and more of us are going to feel that out of controlness. You're not supposed to have the answers. You're supposed to trust in the not having the answers. You're supposed to trust in not knowing. That's the flow state. The flow state doesn't have an answer. You have no idea what's coming in a flow state. When you're in the river, you do not know at all what's coming. You can't. It's impossible. You don't know what's around the bend. You don't know if there's a waterfall. You don't know if it's still water. You don't know if there's boulders. How would you possibly know? And no psychic is going to be able to be like, oh, yeah, that's happening. Maybe, maybe not. How do I know? Why am I going to listen to you? You're just going to create more anxiety for me. I'd rather just be calm and still in whatever I'm in. But that's what we do. People are talking about what's going to possibly happen in the river in the future, creating massive stress, anxiety, and worry in where you are right now for no reason. And then we try to consume things that are going to help us to get through what we haven't even gone through, what may not even happen. It's insanity. It's insanity. It's crazy to me. Like literally, think about that analogy when you're going about your day. And you're trying to consume all this information to give you information so that you can feel safe. And all this information is giving you information about a future that they cannot predict. They have no freaking idea. They just don't. And then you convince yourself like, oh, well, I just need all this information. Meanwhile, I'm chilling. I'm floating down the river like, I don't care. I know that whatever is going to happen is going to happen. I'm going to see it. And as I'm floating down the river, if I get this information about 5G, like, oh, wow, okay, interesting. Do, 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 off I go. If I get this information about somebody saying like, oh, yeah, there's massive solar flares happening right now. Oh, okay. Whatever. It's right here in my now. That's great. But anything that's gonna try to pull me into something that's coming, no, namaste. Like, I have enough in my life just being with what is, that takes care of it. I don't need to now start thinking about all these other things, And this goes for how am I gonna make money? Am I gonna be in a relationship or not? Do I move from where I'm at? All of it, all of life is the analogy of the river. Everything is shown to you when it needs to be shown to you. Otherwise, it's not shown to you. It's all shown to you when you need to see it perfectly. And the problem is that we don't have faith in that. We don't have faith in that. And we are addicted to instant gratification. Take this away from me. Take this away from me. Take this away from me. Right? and give me control. I wanna feel controlled or control. Like, I need to know that I'm in control. I need to know I'm in control. So just pay attention, you guys. This is, I think a lot of times it's difficult to like have the tough conversations, you know? It's like people want they want to know that everything's going to be great and you're going to walk into heaven on earth um and it's true. We are moving into I mean, I've never felt more heaven on earth than I do right now. I've never felt more peace than I do right now. I've never felt more calm than I do right now, ever in my whole life. And I don't it's not something I did, it's something that my relationship with God did. It's something that my relationship with awareness did, my relationship with presence, my relationship with Jesus. It all played a factor, you know. And so I just think it's extremely important right now that we realize that the biggest theme for humanity and for this planet is control. And the only way to break out of what so many people love to call the matrix or the false matrix or whatever you want to call it is you've got to let go of trying to be in control. So, those that have been in control of this planet create the illusion that you are in control because that is a very disempowered state. It's very disempowering to be in a state of control. I'll tell you why. When you are in a state of control, you are restrictive, you're tight. How do I know this? Because when you're controlling something, you need an outcome. So there is a specific outcome that's conditioned on that control. It needs to look like this. I need to make a certain amount of money. I need to be able to get this kind of job. I need to have the answer to this. I need to be able to find a house that looks like dot, dot, dot. I need this conversation to go well. I need to be able to fit into my better clothes. I need to, whatever it is, it's a state of control based on a outcome that you want. You're attached to an outcome. Okay. That is not your most empowered state, and the powers that be know this. So they keep giving you this false sense of control, right? And they feed you all of this information that keeps you needing information. Your most empowered state of being is not being in control. Just feel into this for a moment, right? Feel into what it feels like to be in control. It feels good, but really tap into it. When I'm in control, there can be anxiety if it doesn't go the way I want. There can be stress. There's an intensity to it, perhaps. There's just a tightness, but it feels good. Okay, so then what does it feel like when you're not in control? When you just trust life? When the highest outcome unravels without you trying to control it? It always will. It always has. It just is going to. Well, there may be annoyance, there may be stress, there may be worry around it all. It may feel weird in the body, but I guarantee you, the more you sit with those two distinct differences, me always trying to be in control, wanting a specific outcome, and what if I didn't need that outcome? What if it was okay to just sit back, still take action in my life, but not have an attachment to a specific outcome? Letting go of controlling things so much. The house I'm gonna move into, I'm gonna move into, it's gonna happen. The relationship that I need to be in, I'll be in. If I need to get out of this, I'll get out of it. If I need to change these things, it's going to happen. It's all going to happen. And it's not that you sit back with your hands up saying, okay, God, show me. You're always taking action, but you're taking surrendered action, action that is not attached to an absolute outcome that needs to happen. Then you're in a much more trusting state. You're relaxed. It's the most beautiful way to live life. That is when you actually understand the magic of this life. And it's not necessary because there's a bazillion people, including like the David Goggins of this world, right? Where they are so hardcore, they're badass, and they just create their life, and they are like charging, and they run 100 miles in a day, and they just do crazy, insane things, and there's so many of those humans on the planet. Right? I'm just speaking of the path of awakening into our natural state, which is the opposite of any sort of control like that. Neither is the right way or the wrong way. It's just that as the collective consciousness increases on the planet, the natural state of being is that we stop associating ourselves as the little I that's doing everything. And we start to associate ourselves with this overarching essence of God that we have an aspect of in the body, and then we start navigating life from a very different frame, from a very different lens. Life starts to look very differently, right? But right now there's a lot of different ways in which humans are navigating this. And if you're listening to this, um, as I end this, the prayer for you and for everyone that listens to this and perhaps resonates is, um, the greatest gift that you're being gifted right now, if there's any sense of not feeling in control, is that you're getting closer to your natural state. You're getting closer to God, whatever that is for you, source, right? Universe, whatever. You're getting closer. You're being pulled. You're being invited over and over and over and over. You're being invited. Um, and so trust that. Just pay attention throughout your day, the difference between trying to control things and have a specific outcome, which is fine. It's what we do. Welcome to the human journey. Don't beat yourself up or judge it. It just is. It's what we do. And what's that compared to um, letting go and not needing it to be a certain way or go a certain way? What does it feel like? What does that feel like in my body? And perhaps it creates stress or anxiety or worry